What's the funniest thing that's happened to you during sex? This girl was going down on me for a bit, and after she gets tired she comes to give me a kiss. I whisper to her, now it's my turn. And she looks at me with the most confused look of disgust and says, what? You're gonna suck your own dick? It was a lovely summer evening and my parents were out shopping. After calculating the time I have left, I invited my girlfriend over. We were 16y. Oh, at that time, after we started having sex on the couch, my parents suddenly came back and my naked GF jumped out of the window. Straight to the garden. I couldn't find a reasonable explanation for why am I naked. The window is open and plants which were on the windowsill are now on the floor. I've never been that embarrassed in my life. One time I thought I had closed the door, but my dog is smart AF and got it open. Trotted up to the bed. And gave my boyfriend's foot a quick lick. He was so startled he yelled WTFY, and the dog, feeling guilty, came to where I was laying and tried to get forgiveness pets by shoving at my arm. Turns out the headboard was exactly the right height to sit on for a BJ. Turns out the headboard wasn't strong enough to hold his weight. They don't call it a headboard for nothing. Edit, thank you for the gold. My chest and hers came together in exactly the right way to form a vacuum. When we changed position, there was this cartoon-like schmack when we pulled apart. It killed the mood and we both broke down in fits of giggles. Either first or second time I had sex with my ex. We'd literally just finished. As in I hadn't even pulled out of her yet and her mum walks in. We both freeze and I daren't look because her mum was a bit fierce and all I hear is, oh, I thought you were just friends, and then the door close again. My ex bursts out laughing and about 5 minutes later I hear her mum on the phone telling her sister. No joke. True story. I was seeing this really tiny girl about 13 years ago. Shortly after my divorce. It was purely a DS thing as she really liked being spanked. Told what to do and so on. And we always finished with rough sex. Anyway. She had lost her eye as an infant due to cancer in her tear duct and she had a glass eye. Very obvious unless you looked closely. Anyway. After one of our sessions. I had her bent over the bed and I was going at her doggy style. And all of a sudden. I see something fly over the bed and roll across the blanket. Without losing a beat. I calmly asked her if that was what I think that is. She says yes and I just keep going until I finish. Afterwards we laughed and cleaned up and she says, well, now you can tell people you ed some girl so hard you knocked her eye out. Good times. I read tiny girl and 13 and was really concerned. We were doing the deed and the guy felt a fart coming. To his credit he warned me and tried to cover the noise by singing in a high-pitched voice. For a solid 10 seconds he was farting machine gun style while yodeling loudly. Still not the worst sex I've had. As I was going down on my wife, the cat decided it would be a good time to climb and sit on top of my head. I tried to ignore it. PSSY sandwich. Edit. My first award. And it's about PSSY. Woohoo. Ripped her fart accidentally when I came on her tits. Her face went from pleasure to just a dead stare while holding her tits. Oh cute, oh cute, oh cute, oh cute, oh oh. We were 17. Girlfriend's playlist was going in her car. We were in the trunk so we couldn't reach the phone playing the music. Sappy love song. Sappy love song. Alt rock song. Rock song. And then Kermit the Frog. I have no idea what the song was because I was too busy having sex for like the third time ever, but she started laughing and I stopped and laughed for a second and she looked at it like she was going to change it, but I plowed right through. So we ed to Kermit the Frog. It's a fun memory. Since we were teens and I was away at boarding school most of the time. Whenever we saw each other all we did was have sex. So I did have a lot of fun memories with her of just like hanging out. So it's nice that I have this one. I had gone over to this guy's house wearing my new Vans shoes. I was in high school. So these $50 shoes were my Sunday's best. We went upstairs and started going at it. He was behind me and I was facing the window to the backyard. Like 5 minutes in I see his dog run into the backyard and tear one of my new shoes apart all over the grass. I thought it was so funny I couldn't even be upset. I miss that dog. I was with a girl who liked to wrestle a bit and be held down. Except she was a dancer with incredibly powerful legs and I underestimated her. Funny story. We decided that it would be a good idea to try something new, dating for nearly 2 years at this point, and went to have sex in the shower. Foreplay happened. The shower was on. To add to the disaster, I knocked my shampoo by accident. But we shrugged it off. Last thing I knew, he slipped on the shampoo and we both went down. He cracked his pelvis, nothing too dangerous, so he was fine after some months, and I had a cut on my lip because I bit it by accident when we fell. Not dating anymore. But we're still friends. And we still laugh about it. I used to have a cat named Voltaire. His nickname was Felis Interruptus. He would climb on my now ex-husband's back when he was on top. I was going down on my GF in high school. I was kneeling next to the bed with her legs hanging off the end. I was fully erect and my cat came from under the bed and licked the tip of my penis. Scared the out of me. If you have ever felt a cat's tongue, you'll know how horribly uncomfortable that felt on the tip of my member. Looks like your dick touched the wrong PSSY. My girlfriend was on top and her Fitbit starts going off. She looks at it and throws her hands up and says yes. I met my steps goal. This is with my current so. A few months ago we were getting hot and heavy and his absolute best friend called in the middle of it. Without missing a beat my boo answered the call. Still thrusting. His friend was inviting us both out to go eat brunch. Watching this man just smiling down at me trying his absolute best not to make it sound like he's having sex while still very much having it and talking about his favorite food made me laugh my ass off. Needless to say we never finished, but it made my day. Boyfriend was going down on me. He started doing a Cookie Monster impression while he was down there. Made me laugh so hard I let out a little fart right on his face. Coochie Monster. In middle of it we heard her little brother jokingly yell from the other side of the door, "Don't be eyeing." Then he ran in. Didn't have any time to hide. So I just stared at him. He yelled "oh" and ran out of the room. Other thing that is more embarrassing than funny, but my GF's mother has the tendency to either not knock at all or knock on the door but no wait at all before rushing in. Most of the time we've managed to hide. Of course she probably always knows what has been happening, but at least she hasn't seen me fully naked a whole lot. But once my GF was sitting on top of me and her mom came in. GF managed to grab a blanket, but she literally sitting on top of me isn't obvious at all. Edit. No. One of the very first times I ever had sex. I looked out my window to see my neighbor having sex with his girlfriend. He noticed me and nodded "what's up" mid-stroke. Later found out that the girl he was having sex with at that moment was my neighbor from the house that I had just moved away from like 6 months prior. My new neighbor was eyeing my old neighbor and I saw them while having sex with my girlfriend. It's not so much the funniest, but the most embarrassing was seeing a guy who was just a super big fan of vaginas. Thought they were beautiful and all that crap. Midway it's really hot. So he stops to go open a window. I decide now is a perfect time to get in a seductive pose. So I'm on all fours. Back arched. I got the response I wanted. He went back there to play around. And I guess released some trapped air. Let me say, the air was aggressive. You ever see the gif of the cow with the wig on? And its hair is blowing majestically. That's what I imagined he looked like. My ex-girlfriend would have these really long days at work and come home and say, "Honey, do the thing." So she lay down and put on Netflix or start reading a book and I'd begin playing with her. Nothing too crazy. In fact, the tamer the better. Usually just fingering and slight nipple play. I always had to contain my laughing because she'd be laying there almost lifeless. No moaning. Not really any moving. The occasional right there. But otherwise it would be like she was sleeping. And then out of nowhere she'd finish. I know she'd finish because she'd kinda quietly buck her legs and be as still as possible and slowly arch her back. And then say okay I came thanks babe, and then it was time for bed for her. It was always so funny because in normal sex she was always so full of life and energy and loud and moving a lot and wanting to switch positions. Yes, I know she was just using me to come. A cop knocked on the window of the car we were in. He seemed more embarrassed than us. Turns out he'd been dating the girl I was with. Very awkward to say the least. I felt kinda tired about that. She passed out while on top of me right before I had to leave, so I couldn't get up. And that was the first time I've ever used a sick day at work. What a call to make. Sorry I can't come in today. We did it and she passed out on top of me. Yeah, I'm that good. They pass out after from the pure joy. Should be in tomorrow. Unless it happens again. Probably when I lost my virginity. Accidentally poked her in the butthole from behind and she turned around. Stuck a finger in my face and sternly said no. I laughed and told her it was an accident and we proceeded from there. Also that one time my roommate guarded my locked bedroom door during a party. I was balls deep in my FWB doggy style and another friend was standing next to him. Slammed the door shut. And then I heard him scream my eyes through the wall. Can't remember if we finished or not. Broke my wife's nose with my forehead. An ex of mine curled and farted right in succession when we were nearly at the point of climax. She was absolutely mortified, but I thought it was the funniest thing ever at the time and it honestly just made me feel more comfortable with her. It was, however, very sad how bad she felt about it. She legitimately thought I would never want to touch her again simply for having natural bodily emissions. Honestly, it never fails to depress when I hear the kinds of things that partners think will make me less attracted to them. I remember she had like the loudest queef ever and she was so embarrassed, but I couldn't contain my laughter. Oh my god. I think I was crying of laughter. It wasn't the first time she had queefed during sex. But this time it was so loud, oh boy, I felt so bad afterwards. She became a bit self-conscious because I was her first ever sexual partner. So after the fact, I remember we sat down and talked about how it was natural and there was nothing wrong with it. I mean, she was on her knees, face down on the bed, and I ate her out. That dang fart blast that just ripped right up my nose gave me a good scare. I was sitting on his face for the first time while he ate me out. And I squirted without even realizing. Instant waterboard. I noticed he made a weird face and thought maybe I was smothering him too much. But instead he made a run for the bathroom to spit it all out. Killed the mood because we were laughing so hard, and now I joke to him about how he doesn't swallow. Successfully asserted dominance. Edit. Thank you for the gold and silver. Please don't give me gold, donate to your local food pantry. It was the first time we were gonna try an L. We were young and dumb. But at least we knew to use a condom. So he's coming at me doggy style and getting nowhere. He's thrusting, but my hole is not lubricated. At all. It's painful and I'm not sure about any of it when I hear a loud pop. I scramble away and look back. Seems the condom exploded and there's pieces just hanging off his dick. I quick check my butt, but I'm okay. There's clearly a piece of condom missing, so we start looking. We found it. A piece had stuck to the ceiling. We laughed for years about that incident. One time, my current so and I were eyeing doggy style. As most people know, this is notorious for queefs. Anyways, after about 5 minutes or so I pull out just a little too much and she queefs. NBD. I decided it'd be funny to reach under her and press up on her stomach. I unleashed the loudest queef I've ever heard in my life. And to top it off, she started laughing and every single chuckle sent out a quiet queef. We ended up finishing after laughing for about 5 minutes. We've been in an ongoing nerf war since I want to say February. Recently she pulled a pistol from underneath her pillow and shot me point blank while I came. Edit. Whoa. Thanks everyone. To clarify, I was on top and she shot me in the chin. She was aiming for my mouth. It's Nerf or nutting. We both farted at the exact same time, whilst maintaining eye contact. That's when you know you've found the one. I met a guy off of Craigslist once. I only share this story with my closest friends. So here goes nothing. I was trying to get over someone I loved who had just moved away. So I decided to do this on a whim. The guy from Craigslist literally looked like the spitting image of Paul Rudd. No joke. So I was like, yes, let's do this. We started making out and our clothes started coming off. Things start getting hot and heavy. I grab his hair to pull on it a little. And it then comes off. His hair was in my hands. I realized within about 5 seconds of silence that I had just pulled a toupee off of his head. And then I started to cry. Because wow. I can't trust anybody. Not even their hair. I spent the next 10 minutes trying to convince him that I wasn't crying because of his toupee. It partially was and wasn't. Looking back at it now, I think it's hilarious. But at the time I was mortified. When I first started dating my girlfriend, I stepped on a bottle of lube, spraying it all over her wall, and then slipped on it. Fell on the floor. Then subsequently farted on impact. 2 seconds later the Canada Day fireworks went off in the harbor downtown. True story. I wish I could make that my signature move. Left the door open when nobody was home. When I was about to come, my dog ran into the room barking and tried to jump up onto the bed. GF and I are both working from home, which has led to midday quickies, our meetings. It's awesome. Little bit of roleplay. I'm a lucky guy. Anyway. Last week we're right in the middle and my phone rings. I'm certain it's my boss. So I stop and run out to the living room to get my phone. But I'm still wearing socks and I slip rounding a corner and just completely hit the floor. No grace at all. So I answer the phone and I'm laughing at myself and out of breath from the SX. And my boss is confused as to why I am so amused at the news of other people getting furloughed. So he probably thinks I'm an asshole. Ended the call, and between the falling, laughing, and subject and length of the call, I was completely flaccid. Yes, we finished. This is my most important meeting and I always meet my deliverables. One of the first times I ever had sex with my wife. I was trying to jack off on her face and I was using my spit as lube. She said, "You're getting spit on the face," but I heard spit on my face. So I did and we both died of laughter. Me and my friend occasionally have had sex on 3 occasions, and the last time I was eating her out. She had music playing. Some advertisement that we would always sing along to came on, and without having to say anything to each other we both popped our heads up. Sang along with the ad. Then got right back down to business. We didn't realize how funny it was until well after we had finished. Another time. Our first time. I was showing her the strap-on and she started hitting it. I told her to slap it as hard as she could. And she slapped it so hard it came out of the harness and slapped her in the face. We absolutely lost it. I don't know why, but we were laughing at something before we had sex and it just kept on popping inside our minds while we were having sex, so we ended up laughing while we were doing it until we finally stopped having sex just so we could have a good laugh. In the end, we were too exhausted from laughing that we just fell asleep naked. My nickname for a while at my husband's job was Trooper, cause the first time we hooked up I was giving him a blowjob and he gave me a heads up that he was about to come. What does my dumbus do? I gave him a thumbs up. He came and then began to laugh. Then he recounted the story to his work buddies and one said, "Ah, she's a real trooper then," and it stuck. Last time we saw this particular co-worker at a bar he greeted me as Trooper. Still. 3 years on. Ex-boyfriend had a daddy kink. During sex he asked me who he was. I'm the dumbest person on earth, so I responded with my boyfriend. He said no and asked again. Kyle? He said not quite. It then clicked in my head and I broke out laughing during sex. Didn't mean to kink shame, but I stopped having sex just to laugh at him. Background. Earlier in the day, I had come across a Reddit thread about funny things to say as you come, and someone in there I had read a suggestion of 10 points to Guy Finder. So fast forward to later that night. My wife and I were going at it doggy style, and as I feel myself about to climax, I lean forward and whisper the before quote into her ear as I come. She punched me several times. I, however, was rolling with laughter the whole time. The first time my wife and I had sex, her first time ever, I stopped mid-stroke and said, "Sorry, but I've been holding this for a long time," and cut a full 5-second fart. We both laughed our asses off and she patted me on the ass and said to keep going. This is why you marry your best friend. While my girlfriend at the time was giving me oral, she came up for a breath and proceeded to sneeze, propelling her head forward straight into my groin. I was nearing completion and was already pretty sensitive, so it hurt like you wouldn't believe. She laughed her ass off as I cradled my gooch, and we couldn't bring ourselves to finish. The night ended with us watching Netflix as I held an ice pack to my taint. Edit. A horse put its head in through the car window and licked my butt as I was in the throes of passion with a lady. One of my exes loved dirty talk, but I was still relatively inexperienced in that field, and one time while she was riding me she starts doing the dirty talk and goes, "Are you gonna come for me, baby?" And my response was, "Well, I'm gonna try." Mid-anal she decides she wants to 69. She gets off my dick and spins around to suck while I eat her out. And she must have relaxed too much, because she took on my face. We're getting married next year. Luckily she found it hilarious, because I was mortified. Dude, you had the out of her. Edit. You transforming dinosaur, thanks for the platinum man. He was on top and there was an earthquake. I don't remember all the details, but my boyfriend at the time played some prank on me. All was good and fun, but I felt like I needed revenge. So while we were having sex, I was on top of him and had to fart. Normally I just hold it and deal, but this was my chance for revenge. I stopped moving and he just looked up at me and asked what I was doing. I farted right on his balls. Loud and juicy sounding. He laughed so hard. It was my perfect revenge. My dog licked his balls while we were in doggy style. Was doing it with someone and our friend knocks on the door. "Hey, I have a question." "Not now, insert mama here." "Seriously? You guys want to throw around a baseball?" Edit. Did not expect my biggest karma count to be about my sex life. Thank you, Reddit. I was laying in bed, my boyfriend on top of me. He was about to go inside me, but just before he did, I half shouted, "Open the beef curtain." I died of laughter on the bed and my boyfriend walked away. Let's just say I didn't get any that night. I was trying to eloquently spit on my hand for some extra wetness while I was playing with her. I had way too much. I could have just wiped it on something quick. Anything else really. Instead I decided to just lick my own spit off my hand and proceed to gag at the taste. She thought it was hilarious though, so it worked out. As she got on top she dug her knee into me. I said, "Ah, you need me in the ass. Full stop." She said, "I do not need you in my ass," and SI time was over.